Okay guys, so in this video we're going to learn about object levels. So let me first of all copy and actually cut out anything that we have within our arrays. So up here, cut it out, close up the templates and put this into our arrays. Okay, now let's go back into our app.js and actually let me also create a new file. So this will be 09 and this would be object literals.js. Okay, so let's go back into our app and let's start with the object literal. So what are object literals? A JavaScript object literal is a comma separated list of name value pairs wrapped into curly braces. Object literals encapture data, enclosing it in a tidy package. This minimizes the use of global variables, which can be used to avoid creating problems when combining codes. Okay, so let's just first create a object literal, and the way we do this is, for example, if I would create here const, and let's call this user, and as I said, we create object literals between curly braces, and now we can type in here, for example, we can insert strings. So let's just type in here first name, and let's assign it a string of Norbert, then comma for the separation. And now I'm just going to go down here and I will initialize a let. I'm going to call it object, so I don't have to do this over and over again. And let me just assign it, wait just a second, and let me assign this object the value of user. Okay, now let me console log the user and let's see what we get. Not the 0 user, just the user. Okay, so we get this first name from our object. You can see it is a object. Now there's another way of getting things from an object. So this is the second way. And I don't suggest using this. We will only use this way. Okay, so let me just type in here. For example, I'm going to, oh wait, I actually didn't get the object. So I want to get the first name. I just console log the entire user, but if I want to get the first name, then I need to type in here first name. Okay, I'm just selecting this right here. Okay, so we have our key value pairs, and I'm selecting now from the user the key of first name, and this gives us just the first name. Now there's another way, and let me actually type in here also last name, so give it another value, and let's say this is Manhart, and let's save this. Now if you want to get only, now we console log object, so if I want to get only first name, then I would type in here user.firstname, and now I'm console logging the object itself, and I'm only getting the first name from the object. Okay, so if I want to get the last name, then I would get dot last name, and this will prompt me with only the last name. Now there's another way of doing this, and this is by actually typing in the key. So this would be the, I should type it underneath of this. So object, let me just copy this entire thing. Object, and here we're going to replace this with a string of first name, for example. You can see I'm getting Norbert again, or last name, and this will probably be with Manhart. Okay, but we will use this way. So I'm going to leave this in but comment it out. Okay, so what else can we insert into objects? We said that we can insert strings, so let's also insert numbers. So let's type in here an age, and let's say 35. And now if I would, I'm just going to copy this and now use age. So if I would console log now user.age, I would get the number 35. We can also insert arrays. So for example, birth date, and let's give this an array of, I'm going to combine here the array. So let's use a string of February. And then 15, and then a number of 68, 86. Now let's copy this again and let's console log. So get from the user, get the birth date. Let's see. So now we are prompted with an array because we used here the array. Now let's use again a string. So let's type in here position, and I'm going to give this the string of CEO. We can also use multiple strings. So for example, if I type in here key of company, and give this a multi-line array, a multi-line string, the now let's say main heart media. Okay, so I hit save. Syntax error because I didn't close this up here. So let's get from the user the company, and let's actually get first of all the position. So we get CEO, and if I would want to get the company and media, okay. We could also use another object, and this is called embedding a object into an object. So if I go up here and let's just type in address, then I'll close this up again. Okay, so address, and let's type in here, let's create another object, and this address will have a city, which will be a string of the city, then comma separated again, and this also has a street, and I'm going to type in here another street of some street, and also let's type in here a number. So I just call it number, so street number, and can use dot here, and let's give this a number of, I don't know, 16, something like that. Let's save it. Now if we would now get the user address, so let's see what happens now. We'll get the object again, okay, and I could get now from this, for example, the city, and I will get from the address only the city, and I could also use the dot number, and I will get the number of the street, for example. Okay, we can also use functions within it, and let's just call this function get birthday, actually birth year. We already used day, so birth year, and we're going to assign this to a function, a anonymous function. Actually, we'll learn about this later on when we learn about functions, and function must return something, and we return the number of 1968. So now let's copy this, and if I want to get this function, I'm just going to take the function name, go down here, and functions need to be called, open and close parentheses, and I would get the name, and not the name, but the year of 1986. Okay, so there's another way of creating object labels. Now we're going to take a look at array of objects. So I'm going to type in here comment array of objects. Okay, this is almost the same way that we created our first object. So let's create here const of users. So let's say we have multiple users, and exactly like we create arrays, within this we're going to create now curly brackets, and the first user we again have key value pairs. Let's say name, I'm going to give it the string of Laura, and then a comma separation, and she will have an age of 32. So let's close this up, and now let's create another one. Let's say name and a string of Arabella, and she will have an age of, let's say, 10. Now let's do something else. Now let's loop through this array. Okay, now we didn't learn about loops, but let's just create a for loop. So for loop is created this way, for, and then we need to create here let. We will always use let or var, never use const, because this needs to change. I'm just going to give it an I equals 0, and then I'm going to explain this later on. And as long as I is less than our object up there, so object dot length, because the object also has a length, and we'll use an iteration I plus plus. And now let's see, let's console log the user, and because it's an array, I can get specific values from it. So this will give me the entire, wait a second, what did I do wrong? Oh, exactly here. So users. Okay, so now we loop through our array of users, and it gave me array of objects, and it gave me both of the objects. Okay, so if I would insert here another object, let's give this a name again, so a key with the value of Karina, and she will have an age of 8, hopefully. You can see we have our third object in it. I can use, and exactly as up here, I can now take, so for example, let's take console log, and from the entire thing, let's take only the names. Okay, now I'm prompted here, down here with, actually let me comment out this console log. So only get the names, Laura, Arabella, and Karina. And let me copy this and comment it out. And now let's say I want to get the age, and I will only get the ages, so the numbers. Okay guys, so first of all, this is pretty much it about objects for this lecture. We'll use objects later on in the course. And yeah, see you in the next one. So bye bye.